Happy New Year! Hello everybody! Hi guys! How are we? We awake, ready to go. It's a new year, 2018. It's exciting. Hi. I thought at the last minute I was going to have like 2018 glasses and one of those blow things, and then I thought about it last night. I didn't feel like getting off the couch, so I didn't do it, but I was going to do that. You can't hear us? I don't know. I think it's just you, Em. Oh, audio's not working. I'm on. Oh, Alexis can hear, so maybe it's just some of them. Okay, so it's just some of you guys. So if your audio's not working, it's probably on your end. Check your speakers, do all that stuff. Good. All right, so tell me about the holidays for you guys. What did you do? What were some fun things that happened? If you celebrated, did anyone get any fun gifts, anything like that? Jocelyn, it's okay. You got a puppy. What kind of dog? Oh, I bet he's so cute. You're going to have to show me a picture sometime or even bring him in. What kind of puppy? A teacup? Oh, those are small. Those things are so little adorable things. That's awesome. How about everyone else? What else happened? Back in Kelowna. Oh, were you traveling on the one of the big snow days there, Jess? Because that was just brutal. Big White, that's awesome. Do you snowboard or ski, Bryn? You also were up there, Cass? That's cool. Oh, that's not cool, Jess. That's a bad day to travel. I had friends driving out to Alberta that day, and they had to end up going another way and spent a night at a hotel in BC. Like, it was so bad. You snowboard? Cool. That's awesome. And you too, Cass? That's great. Good. How about everyone else? What did you guys do? What was anything fun? What was the best time? Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Is she going to be okay? Is it a long-term thing? Belle was at Big White, hung out with some friends. That's good. New Denver and the cusp, and went up to the hot springs. Oh, the hot springs are so nice, aren't they? Nice and warm when it's snowing. It's really kind of cool. It's like a hot tub thing, right? Oh, good. That's good, Katie. I'm glad she's good now. 24 hours traveling out of Vancouver, then had a flight. Oh, yuck. It's not fun. Babysat your niece. That's awesome. Alexis, you do a lot of babysitting. That's really nice of you to do that. I know sometimes you don't have a choice, but it's nice that you do that. It was so cold, it froze my hair. Isn't that fun when it happens? Babysit a lot too, Belle. That's good. And you worked. Cool. And how about, I didn't hear from any guys. What's going on here? Gentlemen, what happened over your break? Oh, the girls are all chatty. What's going on, guys? How are things? What did you do? Girls, you can keep talking too, but I just want to know what's going on with the guys. Like I say, I worked a lot. I know, it's not. We're just talking. Magical Merle and I were just talking, and they got a better snowblower, and he said they used it a lot. It was crazy. Oh, good. Oh, Dean, it looks like you're back at it. So did nothing. Side. Cool. Alexis. Yeah. Your break was great, Dean. That's good. That's nice. Did you do anything special at all? Mine was nice. I had my brother come up for a few days, if you can call that nice. I'm just kidding. And restart. Okay, yeah, Jocelyn, go ahead and restart and see if you can come back in. That'll be fine. Yeah, try that again. Here, let me type that. Okay. Get-together, sleepovers, that's nice. That's really good. And then, yeah, cool. And myself, I was good. I was just telling Magic Merle that we do a lot. I had a lot of pierogies over the holidays. I swear that every event we brought pierogies, and there was leftovers, and we ate them, and then we went to another event, and there was more pierogies, and yeah, so. Okay, see you in a bit, Joss. Okay, so yeah, that's awesome, cool. So it's nice to be back. And I was just mentioning that this next little bit is just going to be sort of a winding down of Math 10. I know for some of you that's exciting, but we're going to be kind of going down to the very end of it towards the end of the semester. So I did a ton of work over the holidays on Science 10, so lots and lots of work. So I tried to get that all planned and all figured out, so I was working a lot over the holidays there. So I thought this graphic was pretty funny. So it says, school holidays, come back and let me love you all longer. I thought it was so cute. Poor SpongeBob's crying. All right, so January we have cross country happening on Friday, so from 9 till 10:30 is cross country, and I think that's happening for the next few Fridays, which is kind of cool. So and it's an early morning up there, so some of you guys that live in West Bank or West Kelowna, not too bad, but if you're in Kelowna you might have to really do some planning on getting over the bridge and all the way up to Crystal Mountain. It's not Crystal Mountain anymore, is it? What's it called? Is it still called Crystal Mountain? Is it? Okay. I can't remember. Sometimes I think it changes. So yeah, so it might take a little bit longer for you guys to get up there. So, all right. So here is today's plan. We're just going to see if anyone has any questions from the homework from last time. So some of you guys were here for the probability day, which is fantastic. That was a lot of fun. You guys had like lots of candy and goodies to take home with you. And thanks for the guys that weren't able to make it, that came on to Zoom. That was good. So any questions from that or the previous thing? So the last unit we finished right before the break, and so what I wanted to do is just give you guys a couple days before I open up the test, so that you can write the test Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So you have a couple days to ask me questions or anything like that, just to kind of and get some studying in before you do that. We're getting into financial literacy, which is the last unit, and it's not going to be too much. Today is going to be mostly the only teaching day I'm going to be doing with financial literacy. And then you guys are going to kind of jump into an activity assignment I want you to do. Okay, thanks, Jess. And then practice and doing some stuff there. So yeah, so let's go here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, financial literacy. So we're going to be looking at money. Money's so important. So for example, Katie T has got a job. I know some of you guys do too, but she's going to be getting pay stubs, and learning to understand how to read those is really important. Believe it or not, some adults don't actually look at theirs, and then after a while someone says something, they look at it and they're like, oh, there's been a mistake, right? So really important that you do understand what's happening on your paychecks, pay stubs, however you want to look at them that way. So all right, so let's just go. Any questions on anything here, solving lines or anything? I know it's been a while, so what I'll assume is that unless someone says something, I can help you after class. We can plan a Blackboard today, this afternoon, or you can just shoot me a question, take a screenshot, send it to me, and then I can help you with any of these questions if you guys have any. So, okay. All right, so financial literacy. When you find out how much taxes come off your paycheck, that's the look on your face. So always remember, when you hear how much someone makes, that's not how much they make. There's a lot of stuff that comes off, and some people have more things coming off their paycheck than others. So for example, you guys will have like kind of bare minimum coming off your paycheck. Myself, I have a lot of stuff coming off my paycheck. So things are a lot different, and then there's other people that are kind of in the middle. So yeah. So it's crazy. Yeah, true enough, right? So you guys have to make a certain amount of money before you do get taxed. So that's the good thing. So I'm going to get you guys to write these notes down. So there's a couple different ways that you can get paid. And some of you guys probably know this, but we're just going to make sure that you guys understand that. So one of the things is you can get paid weekly. So some people get paid every week, so on the Friday or the Saturday, whenever they kind of decide to make the week start, and usually Sunday to Saturday, you can get a paycheck at the end of each week. Some are every 2 weeks, and that's called bi-weekly. And then there's something called twice a month, which is called semi-monthly. So for example, teachers and a lot of professionals get paid semi-monthly, and then there's monthly. The monthly one is not overly a common one, but the other ones do happen. So there are 4 different ways that you can actually get paid. So weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, and monthly. So bi-weekly, we'll talk about what the difference between bi-weekly and semi-monthly is. It sounds like it's the same thing, but it's actually slightly different a little bit. Okay, thanks, Sean. Okay, so just jot that down quickly there, and then what we're going to do is look at the 2 things at the bottom, and they're 2 kind of questions or situations talking about one that gets bi-weekly and semi-monthly, because I wanted to look at that, because a lot of people assume that's the same thing, but it's actually not. They are different entities. It's just slightly. So for example, my husband gets paid bi-weekly, I get paid semi-monthly. So there's times that they're similar and there's a lot of times that they don't match up. So we're going to look at that. So if this person, so the first teacher, I'm going to have my calculator handy all the time here so I can have it up. The first teacher has a 5-year degree in Surrey, BC, and gets paid a salary of $45,909 semi-monthly. So what we want to do is figure out what they actually get paid kind of each time. So the person in Surrey, so there is 12 months. Actually, I'll give you guys a few seconds here just to write that first scenario down. So if you guys want here, write this first scenario down. I just put the red star there. Don't worry about the second one right now. Write that first one down, and then I'll go over how to do that. So I'll just give you guys a few seconds to do that. And I'll take that loose piece of hair off. Okay. So they get paid semi-monthly, which means basically twice a month. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to kind of go up this way with this one and do it in red. And I'm going to move my computer just a little bit so I can write better. So that means there's 12 months in a year. Okay, so you guys can write that so you understand what the 12 stands for. And they get paid twice a month. So what that means is they get 20, and you can write checks. I see it both ways. You can write checks like this, like a check mark kind of thing. You'll also see it like this, EQUE. I have a tendency to write the bottom one. I don't know if there's a right or wrong because I have seen them both ways, so it doesn't matter to me how you guys write that. Like I said, I have a tendency to write that. I don't know why, it just does. So. Yeah, so it's up to you guys what you do. So they get 24 paychecks in the year, all right? So what we need to do to figure out how much they make is we take the money that they made in the year, $45,909, and what we need to do is divide that by 24, and what that will do is tell us how much they actually make on each one of their paychecks. So I already done the math on this one. So 1,912 and 88 cents. So that is what the teacher in Surrey would make doing the bi-monthly. Okay, so that is how you determine that semi-monthly. Sorry, you take. There's 12 months. They get 2 paid checks. So that's 24 checks the entire time, and then you just divide that up and figure that out. So I'll give you a second, the green star. I'll give you guys that little green star there. Please write that one down. So it says, a first-year teacher in Whitehorse, Yukon Territory, with the same 5-year degree would get paid that amount bi-weekly. Okay. So if you're wondering why they're exact same teacher and everything like that, why they get paid more. So a lot of times, a lot of jobs, if you're in an area that's a little bit more isolated or living in an area that's not so desirable to move to, they will pay people more. So doctors get paid more if they're working up north or in areas where the city is extremely small, the town, the village, whatever you want to call it. So there's a lot of times there's that incentive for people to work in places that people don't want to work in, and so they pay them more. So that, oh good, Jocelyn, can you hear now? Yes, good. Awesome. All right, so first-year teachers. So this one's a little different because they get paid bi-weekly, okay? So what we need to do is now look at this one as how many weeks. So there are actually 52 weeks in the year, okay? And if they get paid bi-weekly, that's every 2 weeks. So what we need to do is divide that by 2 to find how many paychecks they get. So they get actually 26 checks in the year, okay? And then you just do the same thing. You take the 62,819, and we do exactly what we did on the above one, and we divide that by the 26. And this person gets paid $2,416 and $12. So I'm not about comparing which one is better or worse, but it's just showing you how you actually figure out the difference between semi-monthly and bi-weekly. So what you'll sometimes, when you guys get to the point where you're buying houses and yeah, you'll just kind of copy down, Jocelyn, just copy the stuff down and you'll catch up. It's not gonna, yeah. Is the final total, this is per check. So this is how much they get paid per check, and this is how much they get paid per check. This is what they got paid in the year. That's what they got paid in the year, and then we were figuring out what they were getting paid per check. So this was 26 checks, so 26 checks into that gets us how much they got per check. Yeah, no problem. So when you guys start buying a house, there are options where you can pay your mortgage in different payments. You can pay it monthly. You can actually pay all those options. And a lot of people go for the bi-weekly because you actually you pay more often, but you're paying your mortgage down faster because you pay it 26 times in a year. And so you're paying down the amount that you owe faster. Some people choose this one because they might not have a ton of cash, and so the 2 checks, because a lot of times your mortgage is a lot of money coming out of your account, like it could be 2 grand, 3 grand coming out. And so if they don't have to pay for 2 times, that will totally help them. So you'll see that a lot when you're looking at a house, there's options. So yeah. Okay, so any questions just on that? That's just basically showing understanding the difference between semi-monthly and bi-weekly, and then looking at all the different ways that you can actually get paid. Okay, are we okay with that one? Okay. All right. So now what we're going to look at is something that you guys will see a little bit more often as you guys have these little jobs that you're working on, is you're going to have your hourly wage and your work schedule. So you're going to get a work schedule that gets posted. And I remember when I was serving, they would post a schedule up and say my hours and stuff. But it wouldn't necessarily just be my name and showing all my things. It would be like Monday, and then it'd show everyone's names on Monday, what they were working and stuff. So yeah. And so then you would just look at every day and see what shift you worked. But if you took all that information and compressed it into one piece, then that, oh, okay, Cass, you might just have to come back and watch the recording of it. And if you put all that information together, it'll come up with what I just had on the last screen there. Are we good, Lindsay? Can't see you typing, almost. Okay. I'll just give a few more seconds, and if not, you can just come back and catch it on the recording, okay? So yeah, so you guys are going to be seeing this a little more often when you're looking at your hourlies. So mine's not hourly, it's salary. And salary is just basically, here's how much money you get for the entire year, how many hours you put in. That's the way it is. And so a lot of managers, so if you're working in a restaurant, a lot of the managers, sometimes the assistant managers are on salary, and so when they work overtime, they don't get extra money out of that. So when I work this whole entire winter break, I don't get extra money for working that extra time. That's what salary is. And there's perks and good and bad things about it. But if you're on an hourly schedule, and every time you work overtime, you will see that, right? So you'll get that, okay? So here is the schedule for somebody from December 4th through the 10th. And it just talks about Prince Charming, there's their name, and they didn't work on Saturday and Sunday. They had the lucky of getting the weekends off, but they worked 8 to 4. So what I want us to do is we're going to try to figure out what they actually got paid for that week. So we could say they got paid weekly, or we're just trying to figure out what they actually would have gotten paid if they would have got a paycheck at that end of the week. So don't stress about writing this out. It's just a visual, and you can always refer back to the video and look at the visual. The most important part is just kind of the math part that we're going to do. So what we need to first of all figure out that he gets paid $11.35, and that's minimum wage here in BC right now, just so you know. I just looked it up. So that is what you would get paid, or you should be getting paid. And so what we need to do is take that hourly wage and multiply by how many hours Prince Charming actually worked. So each one of these is an 8-hour shift. Oops, that's actually an 8. So 8 to 12 is 4 hours, and 12 to 4 is another 4 hours, so that's 8 hours. So in this week, if they work 5 8-hour shifts, does anyone know how many hours in that week that they actually worked? How many hours did they work for that week? Yeah, perfect. So Prince Charming worked a 40-hour week. So all we have to do is take our $11.35 and multiply it by 40 hours, because it's $11.35 for each hour, and they worked 40 hours. And so he would get, and again, just use your calculator, $454 is what they would make in 1 week, okay? And so that's just a really basic schedule. There's no overtime happening. This person's not on salary. It's just, here's the time I put in, and this is what I get out of it, okay? So I think that should be kind of a, I think you guys should be okay understanding that. That's sort of a basic, figuring out how many hours someone works. So now what we're going to look at is Prince Charming, if he actually works some overtime. We're going to look at overtime. And overtime works where usually you get paid, they call it time and a half or double time. And so what that means is that you get your wage plus a little bit more for the overtime. So time and a half would be you get your wage, $11.35, and then you get half of that added on. Okay, so half $11.35 is roughly $6 or whatever. So then you would add that on to $11.35, and that's what you would make for every time you work overtime. Double time, take $11.35, double it. That's what you make for every hour that you work extra over 40 hours. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at here. So Prince Charming, same situation, except he actually worked an hour more each day. So he had, so when we did the 8 hours, so again, don't worry about writing all this stuff down. You can just write down that they get, we're looking at overtime, and they get paid time and a half overtime, if you're going to just write that down, just so you can understand the difference between the one we just did and this one. So this one we're going to look at Prince Charming, and it was Christmas week there and gets really busy, so he's working an hour of overtime. So he originally made $454 for regular pay of 40 hours in that week, okay? So what we need to do now is figure out how much he actually made for that little bit of overtime. So each day, how much overtime did he work each day, guys? Good, yeah, he worked 1 hour. Now what's the only other thing that's different here from the last schedule? There's a reason why I didn't write something on the bottom one. Yeah, they work Saturday. So during the week, he already worked his 40 hours. He also put in an extra hour, so he has 5 hours extra during the week, plus he has an extra Saturday there as well, which is well above the 40 hours. So he has 9 hours on this one. He has an extra 9 hours. So in total, Prince Charming worked how much overtime for this week? It was a very, very stressful week, yeah. So he worked 14 hours overtime. Okay, that's a 1-4, sorry guys, that's, my arm slipped a little bit. Okay, so he worked 14 hours of overtime in this week. So what we need to do is go, okay, $454 was his regular 40-hour pay. Now we're going to see what more he gets on that. He is like a commoner. He's trying to be like a normal person. So what we need to do is figure out that part. So yeah, so what we're going to do is figure out what time and a half is. So what you're going to do is you take that 11.35 and you're going to times it by, you have a couple ways of doing this. The easiest way is timesing it by time and a half, which means 1, which is 1 whole, which is 100%. 0.5 is a half, so that's time and a half. And what that does is gets you the amount that they worked, which was 1703. And of course you round to the nearest hundredth. The other way that you could do this is you just go 11.35. So you go 11.35, you times it by half, which is 568, and then you add it on. Okay, so there's a couple ways. So you could have gone 1135 and 568 and added them up, and you still get the same total. So you can do it either way. Hopefully you've seen that 1.5 way of doing things. Okay, so this is what Prince Charming makes for that overtime. So what do we need to do now? So we know how many hours of overtime he worked. We know how much he made for the overtime. So what do I have to do now to figure out the final bit there? What do I have to do? Someone's got to talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. Yeah. Oh, not times by 40, because 40 was the regular. This is the regular right here. So we know what he earned for the regular. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So what we need to do, who said that? Caitlin T. So what I need to do is take that 1703 and multiply it by the 14 hours. Okay? And I did not work that out. So 1703 times 14. So in overtime, that's how much Prince Charming made. So he made $238.42 in overtime. One last step. Does anyone know what the last step is to figure out what this awesome Prince Charming made for that week when it was so busy? So busy. Miss Mac's doing the math quickly right now because she knows what do we have to do? What do we have to do now? Good. We have to add the two things together. So we have to add how much he made for the regular pay for that 40 hours and then the extra 14 hours. Okay? I know. So all I have to do is I'm going to do it in blue, and I'm just going to add on to this one. I just have no space. You guys can probably do it separately. 238.42, and I'm going to add on the 454. If you want, you can put zeros there. Doesn't matter. And we add this up the old-fashioned way. 12 carry the 1, which is 9, and almost a big whopping $700 in the week. Okay? That is not overly, you know what, it could happen. That's a lot of overtime. Most places, one, getting full-time hours as a server is not always an easy thing. And two, getting that much overtime doesn't happen very often. So that's okay, thanks, I'm glad you're here. So this is an exceptional case, but this is just showing the difference between the last slide, which is just regular pay, this is how much you make, and then this is showing a paycheck that has both, has the regular and some overtime in that. Okay, so sorry, I'm just gonna stand, there we go. Oh, that's fun, the screen's all jumping over there. That's all kind of cool. So yeah, any questions on how to figure out how much you make off your paycheck just in regular things there? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys one that I want you to do, just have a little practice. So you'll have to write the question out. I'll get you guys to write it out, and I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to do that because you need to write the question out and then do the work. Use a calculator. Okay, just make it super easy, and then we'll come back in 2 minutes. Actually, there's 2 questions, so I'll give you 3 minutes. I'll give you 3 minutes. It shouldn't take you too long. You don't have to show any work. Like, just get the answer. If you can figure it out, go from there. So, what is the last 2 numbers of the answer? 42. Decimal 42, is that what you mean, Alexis White? So 692.42. I think that's what you meant. Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'll see you guys in 3 minutes. Answer the question, find out how many make per hour. Okay, see ya. Guys, just so you know, Magical Merle is just having some issues here with some stuff, so we're going to go to black screen, but just keep working and we'll come back when we're ready, okay? See you in a bit. Glitching and stuff, so we're getting that all figured out and everything. So we got Gus. Worked 24 hours and earned $288 of regular pay. So there's no overtime in this. What did he earn an hour? So can someone tell me what you would figure out? I know, Gus, I know. How would you figure out how much Gus earned in an hour? What would we have to do to figure out what he did? Get some input from you guys so that I know you guys know what's going on. How would we figure that? Good. Yeah, so we take the $288 that Gus made and we divide it by the 24 because he worked 24 hours. And what that's going to do is tell us how much he made in an hour. And what did you guys get for that? Yeah, perfect. So we got $12, and that little slash right there, that means per hour. So when you see kilometers per hour, it's the same thing. That means $12 per hour. Yeah, no, it's okay, Dean. I thought you knew what you meant. So that one's a simple one. So there's no overtime involved, so we can see what the hourly wage was, okay? The next one is a little different because we're talking about, we have some overtime in there. So it's a couple different stepped one here. So with this one, all we have to do is take the $120 and we're going to divide it by the 8, okay? And when we divide it by the 8, this is what Dean was talking about. This is the $15 per hour. But the only problem is that $15 per hour is also talking about some overtime in there, okay? So what we need to do, so if you stopped there, that's great, but we do have another step because this is just, that's including regular pay and the overtime. So what we need to do is sort of try to split those. And it says that they get, sorry, the time's over here, but they get time and a half of overtime. So what we need to do is take that $15 and divide it by a time and a half. And when we do that, what we do is get back to what the original amount that they got paid. And what they did get paid was $10 per hour, okay? So 15 is a really good start, but what we need to do is then go, oh my gosh, they're still accounting overtime in there, so let's take that out and then see what they actually got paid, okay? Or you can work it backwards from $15 and try to figure out, okay, time and a half, what would have to be to get to $15 per hour, okay? So any questions on those two? So what we're going to look at is looking at tips now. So especially when you're a server, some other jobs you get sort of kind of a commission-y, tippy thing sort of happening on there. What does that do to your the amount of money you take home, let's say at the end of the day? If you were making tips, what does that do? So if I have $100 that I earned for the day, but I have some tips, is that going to add more money to the amount I take home or take it away? What does that do? What do tips do when we do? Yeah. It adds more money. So tips are a good thing, and that's why a lot of people like being a server, is because you do get that little bit of extra tips there. You have to be a good server to get the tips, but get some good tips, but that is usually one of the things that makes it so like that. Yeah, actually when I worked at one restaurant which was more of a eat, get out, like it was super fast and everything like that. And then I worked up at the Harvest Golf Course, and you got like kind of nicer, kind of, you know, casual, and the tips were quite different from both those places. So, so it all depends on where you work. So, okay, so we have Hook, Captain Hook. He works as a server in a restaurant, and he is paid minimum wage of $9. So we're just going to change it up. We're not going to use $11.35. Just going to change it up to $9, and gets an average of $75 of tips in each shift. Okay, so each day that he works, each shift, he gets $75 of tips. If he works, if he works 5 8-hour shifts, okay, so he's working 5 days and he's got 8-hour shifts, what would be his gross pay? And gross means without any taxes being taken off. What would his check look like before any of that extra stuff comes off, okay? So you don't have to pay. Yes, you do. So just on a side note, Belle and everyone else, you're technically, when you're working as a server and stuff like that, you're supposed to on your, when you do taxes in before April, around April, you have to report your income, and part of the income is that you have to report what you made as for tips. So when I was working as a server, I had on a calendar and I would write down how much money I made each day as on a tip, and then you would have to add that into your income. So that's what you're supposed to do with that. Does everyone do that? Not necessarily. Like hairstylists and stuff like that, those kind of jobs have to do those sorts of things. Yeah, cool. $3 plus for tips. Wow, Sean, that's crazy. That's nice. Okay. All right, so let's look at this question here. So you guys know how to figure this out. So they work 5 8-hour shifts. So they work 40 hours a week in this week. So Hook worked 40 hours, okay? And we know that that 40 hours times $9, that's how much they made in this week, okay? So that's without tips, that's without anything else. They made $360 for the week, all right? So now the nice part is there's a little extra bonus to what they earned. So we're gonna look at the tips. So 5 shifts, each shift was about 75 bucks. So what we have to do now, and I'm gonna change my color, I need to go 5 shifts times that $75, okay? And they earned actually more money. This is crazy because this sometimes does happen. You could earn more money from your tips than you actually did from your hourly wage. Okay, so that is how much, that's what happened here for Captain Hook. Captain Hook actually was such a good server, got more money from tips than actually what they earned from just the working wage. So then, what do we do with those two? Like you guys said last time, we have to add that, adds it on. So we have the $360 that they earned from their actual wages, and we're going to add on the $375. Who would have thought all the Disney characters? I know, you guys don't know what they're like. They are real people. They're just like, they're caring, they support the community. They're such wonderful people. And in the end, after 1 week, they earned $735. Okay, so Captain Hook had a fabulous week with wages and tips. Okay, all right, so that is, I think, quite kind of basic, just understanding that it adds on to the wages. And like we were talking about, it is something you do have to claim on your income tax. So yeah. All right, so what I'm going to get you guys to do is I'm going to get you to do your own. I want you guys to figure out kind of the situation with the tips with another character. Is everyone good? Ready for me to move on? Okay. So I think I'm going to give you guys, let's do 2 minutes for the income tax. What if you don't know how much? You're supposed to be recording it. Yeah, that's part of the whole thing. So that's why I said I had a calendar and I write down at home how much I made in my tips. And then at the end of the year, you add it up and record it in your income tax with that. So that's kind of what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes. Hopefully the timer's working. If not, we'll pop up, and that's when we're done. And write the question out and figure out the tippage. So Maleficent, she works too. She works at the Keg as a server. On her Saturday evening shift, the total customer bills added up to $2,000. So that's how much the bill was from the people that bought food. If she pays, this one's a little different. Oh, actually, I'm going to show you guys. Yeah. I think you guys can figure this out. I want you guys to try this first before we go over this. If she pays the prep and kitchen staff, so I'm just going to do a little backstory while you guys are writing this down. When you're a server, sometimes in hairstyling and maybe some other jobs, there are people that do work in the background to help you do your amazing job as a server. So you have the people working in the kitchen, you have the bus people sometimes you have your hostesses, and sometimes there's other people involved as well. They don't get tips. They do an amazing job. They help you make an environment and help the business make an environment so that everyone comes in is happy and feel happy with the service and the whole food and everything, and they tip. So what has happened is that they felt it was only fair that a lot of these people that do that work in the background to make your tip bigger or better, that they should get a portion of the money. So what typically happens is, of that money, so Captain Hook made those tips, not all of that is he's going to get to take home, because part of that he has to give back to these people that do the work in the background. So this is what this is talking about. So Maleficent, she had $2,000, customers came in and spent $2,000 on food. Now she has to figure out how much she needs to give away. So she made 20% tips on the bill. So what you need to do is figure out how much tips did she get from $2,000 that was spent. Then once you figure that out, then you need to go, but she has to take 15% of the tip money, and that money goes to the prep cooks and the kitchen staff and all those kind of people. So what I want you to do is figure out in the end, what does Maleficent actually get to take home, okay? So you need to figure out, one, how much does she actually get tips from that amount of money? Then once you figure that, how much does she pay the kitchen staff with that 15%? And then in the end, how much does she have left over, okay? So I'll give you guys 2 minutes to figure that out and we'll come back, okay? Ah. All right, the timer worked, that's exciting. Okay, so I started doing some work there. So the green part is figuring out just, first of all, how many tips did Maleficent make? So she made $400 in tips off of the $2,000 that people spent. So then of that $400 that she made in tips, she has to give 15% to all the support people in the background. So you're timesing by the decimal 1.5. So she ended up giving to the support staff, so I'll just put kitchen. So she ended up giving $60 to the kitchen for the day, right? So now in the end, what we do is have to figure out how much does she take home. So if she started with $400 in tips, gave the kitchen staff the 60 bucks, in the end, she still took home a nice amount of money, which is $340, okay? So that is a normal thing. So if you do become a server, that's going to be typical. I'm not saying it's 15%. I think when I did it was 2% or something like that. It's probably gone up because it's been a long time since I served. But yeah, it's something that happens typically. And you'll have to sometimes do that, like if you're a hairstylist and you're renting a chair, like so you don't own the business, you're kind of paying for your spot in the hair salon. Sometimes you have to pay for the people that work at the front or do the shampooing, but every place is different. But those are just some examples with that. Okay, how we doing there? Are we good? Are we good? Okay. All right. So now we're going to look at something a little bit different, but does the same thing. So sometimes businesses don't give you tips, but you earn a commission, and a lot of times you'll see that in you know, electronic places or big furniture places or vehicles and stuff. They will give a lower wage typically per hour. Sometimes you might not even get a wage. And then when you sell, you get a profit, a little bit of money off of it. And it's called a commission when that happens. So what we're going to look at, it's something like a tip. So a tip is a certain percentage from the bill that people give you, and that's a random amount. So some people give you 10% as a server, some will 20, some more than that or whatever. But commission is usually quite set. So if I sold every couch I sell, I get 10 bucks off of it or whatever. I'm just making something up. So it's always a kind of preset thing for that. So what we're going to look at is Lightning McQueen sells cars, new and used ones in a dealership. He is paid $250 for all used vehicles. Okay, so I'm going to highlight some of the important stuff you might want to write down, because you don't have to write down all the words. It's all kind of fun. He is selling cars. Well, you know, he's an expert on cars, you know. And he gets $500 for all new ones. All right, so this is what happens every time he sells a car. He doesn't get the cash. It goes to the owner of the dealership or whatever. But every time they do that, they get money. And the reason why businesses do that, they want to try to encourage their salespeople to sell, and so that they can make money. So everyone's happy in the end. So the next part is he gets 1% commission on the total value of all the sales, okay, for that month. So what we need to do is figure out what's going on here. So he sold this last month 4 used one. So what we need to do is figure out how much he got paid for 4 used. And here's the used. The used is $250. So what we need to do is go 4 cars times $250 commission. So he made $1,000 off of those 4 used cars that he sold, okay? Then we're going to look at how many new ones he sold. So he sold 5 new vehicles, and we know for the new ones he gets $500. So the business, the people that own this business really obviously want him selling those new cars. They probably make more money as a business, so they want to encourage Lightning McQueen to sell more used car or more new ones. So 5 new cars at $500, and Lightning McQueen makes 25. That's a 5. That's a funny looking 5. There we go. Makes $2,500. Okay, so that's just that kind of part. So now the second part that we have to look at is that he also gets a 1% commission on the total amount that he sold. Okay, so when we look at the total amount he sold, it's right there. It's kind of, sorry, I scribbled it out. We'll rewrite it again. But he sold $157,500 worth of vehicles in that month. So he's at a pretty nice dealership if he's selling, I guess if there's a vehicle, 30,000 each, 50,000 trucks, stuff like that. It doesn't take long to add up. So now what we have to do is take that 157,500 and times it by decimal 0.1. Please note that 1% equals decimal 0.1. You move the decimal over twice. 2 zeros out of 100, 2 zeros, move it over twice. Okay, just a reminder. So what we need to do is figure out how much they make there. So he makes $1,575 off of that 1% commission. So this is how Lightning McQueen gets paid. He gets paid by how much he sells for used cars. He gets paid how much he sells for brand new cars. And then on top of that, to encourage more sales, he will get a 1% commission off of that. So what we need to do now is just simply add these guys up. And who threw that up there? Yeah, Caitlin T. So 5075, $5,075 he made that month. Okay, so it's almost exactly like tips. It is just a little bit a different way of paying. Now, like I said, some places will give you a little bit of a hourly wage or a salary, and then give you this little bit of extra. So just like serving, hourly salary, extra is your tips. Random depends on the customers. With this kind of situation, the dealership could have given him maybe a $2 an hour and then said, okay, and the more you sell, the more money you make, because I'll give you some money off of the sales. Okay, so gross, we're going to get to that in a little bit, but gross means it's the gross amount. This is how I remember. Gross amount means it's the big, massive amount of money you make before the taxes come off. Okay, so like for example, if you think about my wage, the gross is like the gross nice bit of money I would have had before the taxes and everything, put it down, and it goes down to net, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Yeah. Exactly, thanks Caitlin. Okay, so I'm going to get you guys to do a Mater question. Mater, he is earning a commission as well. So I'm going to get you guys to do this question. Write down maybe the basic information. So like what I did here, you don't have to write down all the sentences and everything if you don't want. I'm just kind of making things make more sense. Just write down maybe the important information, and I'll give you guys 2 minutes to try to solve the question. So it says, Mater has been offered a job in the parts department of a tractor factory. He has 2 choices of getting paid, so he needs to decide. So you're going to have to figure out 2 different things and figure out which one he wants to take. His first choice, he can get $15 an hour and 2% on the weekly sales. The second choice is that he can get straight commission, just like what Lightning McQueen was getting. Straight commission of 5% on the sales, up to $8,000. After $8,000 is 7% on the sales. So the more he sells, the more he's going to make as a percentage. What I want you to do is determine which one he would actually make more money off if he worked 30 hours a week and made an average of that amount of money, $14,000. Okay, so you're going to figure out option 1, option 2, which one actually gives you the most money. Okay. All right, so I'll give you guys 2 minutes. See you in a sec. All right, so $15 per hour, first option. He works 30 hours in the week, so gets a total of $450 for the salary section. And then we got to figure out the 2%, because that is option 1, because option 1 is this one right there. So now we got to figure out how much they make for 2%. So we take the $14,000 of sales and we times it by decimal 0.02. I'm trying to make that stuff line up here so it's easier to add together. And when we do that, Mater makes $280 off of that kind of as a 2% commission. So when we add those two up, Mater makes $730 in option 1. Okay, so hopefully you guys were able to see that answer. So then option 2 is just all straight commission. So we need to take the $14,000, but it says the first part here. One second. It says 5% up to $8,000. So what we need to do is do $8,000 and times that by the decimal 0.5. So don't put the 14,000 because they split it up. They wanted to get the incentive of them trying to sell a little bit more and make a little bit more money. So with that one, it's $400. Then we get to the second part, which is 7% of anything over that $8,000. So you have to do some subtraction here. 8,000, 14,000, subtract those two, okay? So when you do that, you get $6,000 and you times that by decimal 0%. So you guys should have had about $420 there. And when you add those up, you get 820. So in this case, Mater's probably going, you know what, if I use this scenario, I actually make more money doing the commission. But you have to also remember that when there's dry months, and that's what it means when you don't sell very many, maybe it's like January, everyone spent all their money at Christmas, no one has money left over. January is usually a tough month for most businesses. You're not going to make much money. So sometimes it's a matter of going, oh, when I sell lots, I'm going to make lots more money than if I had like a salary. But then you're like, but when I don't, right? So that's why it's always so tough for some people to decide, do they want a salary, do they want a commission, do they want hourly wage? So, but in this case, Mater should, because he's such a great salesperson, sounds like he should stay with selling with the commission. Okay? So any questions on how to figure out taxes or commission, tips, hourly wages, anything like that? Okay, so I'm going to give you guys 20 minutes. I'm going to get you guys you can go do a quick little break. And then I'm going to let you guys get started on, there's 3 things that you're going to have to get done by Friday for me. And one of them is due for Wednesday, and then 2 are going to be due. That's 2. 2 are going to be due for the Friday. So I'm going to get you guys to have a little bit of a head start with that. So the first one is, I haven't opened it up on Moodle yet. I'm going to open it up right away here. What I need you guys to do is just do this when it's working on the hourly wages, overtime, all that kind of stuff. And then the second worksheet is working on the same kind of thing, just adding a little bit of, you know, maybe adding the commission in or the tips in or percentages or something like that. If the question's blacked out like that, that's obviously one I said I didn't want you guys to worry about. Most likely on these, you're going to have to do your work on another page. Try to keep yourself organized. So put a number 2, do all your work for number 2 nice and neatly, and then number 3 and so on, because that's what you're going to have to hand in to me. If there's a lot of work, what should you do to your answer? If there's a lot of work, what should you do to your answer? Circle it, yes. Okay. So make sure if what you want me to look for in the very end, that's circled so I can see it. Okay. Or it's very obvious. It's the last thing on your sequence of events. So 20 minutes. Get you guys to do these. Get started on these 2 worksheets. You can probably get one done in those 20 minutes for sure. And that first one, this first one here, that's due on Wednesday. So if you want, you can get that done and not have to worry about it. So I'll see you guys in 20 minutes. Okay, hi guys, welcome back. Belle, my dear, I don't know which learning guide are you talking about? You said there's answers for. You can just let me know which one you're referring to and I can just double check that. All of them. What, this unit? Oh, you mean at the bottom of the thing? Oh yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. Because I want to see your work anyways, right? So you guys have to show me your work, so having the answer is one thing, but okay. All right, so, okay, so we're just going to finish the rest of this unit off with the last little bits, and so we're going to get talking about, the question was asked, sometimes I do, at the start of the year I did, and this one, yeah, so. So someone was talking about what's the gross pay. So what we're going to look at is the difference between gross pay and net pay, and we're going to start looking at what actually does come off your paycheck, because what you actually totaled up and what we've been totaling up for Mater and what we totaled up for Lightning McQueen and for Maleficent and all those guys, that's not actually what they get to take home at the end of the day, which is so sad. So just take these notes down. So gross pay is what you're basically how much you get paid before deductions come off, and the net pay is after deduction. So like I said, how I remember which one is which is gross is like that gross big amount. It's way more money than the net pay. So that's how I remember that's the one before deductions. And the net pay is the one that comes after it. Okay. So what we're going to do is just kind of look at how some of that is figured out there for you. So, so deductions, so we're just going to write some of this down. So deductions, regular amounts, employer takes off of gross pay. So that's what a deduction is. So the employer, whoever your employer is, it could be like School District 23 for me, it could be the KEG, something like that, could be Ford, whatever it is. They take money off, and there's certain very specific amounts that they take off of your paycheck for your gross pay, okay? Some are optional, and we're going to talk about some of them. Some of the deductions that come off, so for example, some things that come off my paycheck, I don't have to get them to take off. Good decision that I am, but if there's reasons why I choose that I don't want to do that, you don't have to get some of them taken off, but there are mandatory ones that do have to come off of that as well. So the mandatory ones, mandatory. So these are the ones that have to come off your paycheck. And this is usually where the bigger amounts are. So we have income tax. And there are sometimes a difference between federal and provincial taxes that come off. So there's going to be a couple dings there. Then you get employment insurance. And the only reason most of us know about this one, or really, is when you actually have to start using it. So if you get laid off from a job, fired, that sort of things, with all things being equal, you can get something called EI. So you're probably used to hearing the word called EI. And you get a portion of money. You've put money in every month towards this, and then when you need to use it, if you need to use it, hopefully you don't, but if that time ever does come that you have to use it, you get a portion of kind of the money you're making for your salary or your wage or whatever it was. And then there's something called Canadian or Canada Pension Plan. Okay, and that you will hear called CPP. You got a CPP? So it's called Canada Pension Plan, and that is money that you put in basically as soon as you start working, and it's a good thing. It sucks it comes off your paycheck, but it's a good thing because when you retire, I believe it starts at now the age of 71. Oh, I could be wrong, 67. can't remember the age now, you actually start getting money from the government, which is the money that you've been putting in to get that. So I'm just going to move otherwise so you can see a CPP. So it sucks that it's coming off your paycheck, but in the end, when you're finally done working, they'll be giving you some money to kind of try to live off of. So a lot of people that are retired, some have other things going on, so they have a pension plan through their work. So I have a pension plan through my work. But people that don't, for example, my mom, she's getting a chunk of money that she's put into, and sometimes it's not enough for some people to live on. So that's why it's always important to try to save money and put money on the side, because this money that you get from the Canada Saving Pension Plan is not always enough to live off of. So, yeah. Okay, we won't worry about that right now, KDP. Don't worry about that now, Slade. Thanks, guys. So yeah, so that's just what the mandatory ones are. So I hope everyone got that. Okay, I hope. So do I want to do it on this page? Actually, let's do it right there. I'm going to do it right here. Okay, perfect. And then, so what I'm just going to do is on this next page here, I know it says work, I'm going to change that, but I'm going to tell you what the voluntary ones are. And these are the ones that you could opt into getting taken off your paycheck, or you don't have to. But it's always up to you if you want to. But these three, you have no choice, they're coming off. Okay, so these ones are voluntary. To have them come off your paycheck. So like I said, I have an additional, with my job, I have the option of having I don't have to take it, actually, believe it or not, I don't have to. I assume almost everyone does. But your company could have another pension plan that you can go into. And not a lot of places, but places that are unionized, which is a whole another thing, but where everyone works together, a lot of times they do have their own pension plan, and even some other places, the government has a pension plan, and some businesses, a lot of them that has salaries, sometimes they have something like that, or they can offer you ability to put money into an RRSP and they'll match it. So there's a whole bunch of things that some companies can do to try to help you save up for retirement. So this is optional. Another one is a health plan. So some places, so everyone always plays MSP, so that's Medical Services Plan. So everyone has to pay into that. They're slowly changing that. The government, and this new government, is now trying to get it, because we're one of the only provinces that does this. I think we are the only one. So they're trying to get it so we don't pay that. That is just automatic. But as of right now, we're paying MSP. That's what that's called. And then on top of that, some of the companies will allow you to buy into a health plan, because they can be expensive. And sometimes what they'll do is say, okay, we'll pay 50% of the cost to get this health plan. You pay 50% of the monthly charges. And this gets you like your chiropractor covered, some of your medical drug prescriptions covered, you know, massage appointments or anything like that. Ambulance is covered if you have to get an ambulance. So that's where that stuff gets covered. It's kind of extended health sort of thing. Yes, government jobs typically have that for sure. Is there someone higher than the government? Not really. The royalty in England, I don't know. So yeah, so that's an option that you can do that. Union dues, it says it's voluntary, but it's actually usually not. If you're part of the union, you usually typically have to pay the union dues, unless you decide not to be part of the union, which is a whole different thing. We're not getting into that. But how are they trying to make it so you don't have to pay? The government makes laws. That's who decides how our provinces run. And the previous government has had us paying MSP. Other provinces aren't. And so this new government's coming in, they're slowly kind of taking that away. It's just income for the government. So what's happening is if they get rid of that, they have to find a way of that money that they've been taking from us. They have to find a way of making their budget balanced, basically. So, all right. So, yeah. Okay. And then the other thing is disability insurance is another voluntary thing. And that's so if you get injured and can't work for a period of time, you could get this disability insurance before you get injured, and it'll cover some of your wage, because a lot of jobs, if you get injured and you're not working, you get no money. So this is a way to allow you to live while you're injured, because that sometimes devastates people and their families. And then another optional thing would be something like life insurance as well. So same kind of thing. Life insurance, you get it ahead of time. If you pass away, money goes to your family, so they're not devastated. They can pay the bills while they're, grieving, or just pay the bills, period, if your wage was a very, very big part of them surviving, right? So those are just some examples of some of the things that are voluntary. A lot of the voluntary things most people do because they are of value. So it's great to have that health insurance, because if you need to go and you get an infection and you have to go and get a prescription dug, at least most of it or part of it is paid off through the health plan. If not, you'd have to pay the whole chunk off right away. So that's why a lot of people do that sort of thing. Okay. Any questions on sort of what's mandatory and what's voluntary, anything like that? Yeah, you can make, it's never a bad idea. The best idea, guys, and I'm not kidding you, I'm not going to get into it, but it's a good idea to have life insurance from when you're really young, just without getting into it, because it actually builds up and it helps and all that kind of stuff. So it's not a bad idea to have life insurance on you whenever you can get it. It's just a monthly fee and you have to be able to afford that, right? So that's always where part of the problem is, okay? All right, so what we're going to look at is now the federal provincial deductions that do come off of your paycheck, which is a mandatory thing. So we have the federal tax, and that is always going to be, well, it's not always, sorry. For you guys and for purposes of what we're dealing with, we're going to look at 22%. The more money you make, the more taxes come off, so the higher the percentage. So I don't know the exact next level to get to 20, I think it's 29% is the next level. Once you make a certain amount of money, then your taxes that come off is like basically 30% comes off. More money you make, it goes up to like 40 something. So some people are getting almost half their paycheck, boom, is gone to the government to use to pay for everything that we do and we get that we don't actually pay for. So, and how they run the country, or run the province, or whatever it is. So the more money you make, the more taxes come off. So it's a good thing, yeah, I'm making more money, but then more money comes off. So that is always a tough thing. Then we have the EI. I'm just going to abbreviate. That's the EI, so that's the employment insurance. And this is 1.73% that comes off your paycheck for that. There are minimums and maximums. I'm not going to stress about that. So for example, I think KDT says she doesn't get taxes taken off because she's not earning enough, and that's true. So what they do is if you're not earning enough, you don't get some of the things coming off, but I'm not going to worry about that. We're just looking at the big picture of what does come off once you start making that amount of money. And then the CPP is 4.95%. So almost 5% of their paycheck is going to later life living, which is cool, which is good, but that doesn't mean that's the amount that you need to have, right? So that's always something to think about as you get older. Do you have enough in there to survive when you don't have an income coming in anymore, okay? So what we're going to do is just look at a situation. Let me give you 2 seconds. Sorry, I just got to double check what example I gave you guys. Okay, perfect. We're going to look at it as an example of a wage and then determine how much actually comes off their paycheck. So they made in the year, so we're just going to do a yearly one. In the year, they made $40,000. Okay, and to you guys, that's seeming like a lot, but remember, nothing's come off of that. So when you see someone makes $40,000, like, I can live off of $40,000. That's almost $4,000 a month. That's not a problem. That's not what they take home. So we have to remember that. So what we need to do is we need to split this off into 3 and figure out what comes off of their paycheck. And we're doing a whole year. This is not a month. We're just going to take a whole picture and see what came off that entire year if we took every month and added it up or whatever. Okay. What happens if you have a self-run business? Obviously, yes, you do have to pay taxes. So that's kind of, that's a little bit of a separate thing. Some people, they have to do their own insurance, life insurance, they have to do their own health benefits, all that kind of stuff. And then they have to put money aside for taxes, or they can work with their accountant and get things done. So that's kind of, it still kind of works the same, it's just a little bit different, basically. Okay, so we're going to look at the first one. We're going to look at the federal tax. I'm just going to call Fed. And so we're going to take the $40,000 and we're going to times that by decimal 22, because remember you move the decimal over twice. And when we do that, we get $6,000. So for the year, federal tax that came off was $6,000. Then we have employment insurance, so EI, $40,000. And we're times that, move the decimal over twice, so it's decimal 0.173 when we multiply that. So remember, always move the decimal over twice. If you need to say that, move decimal to left twice when multiplying a percent. You do not need to write this down if you know this. Okay, that's just a reminder for some of you guys that might have forgotten. So when we do this, $692 came off their check for EI for 40,000 checks, like the total amount a year. Okay. Now, CPP is a tiny bit different, and what they do is they give you like a little bit of a break, and they don't charge you for $3,500 of your earnings for the CPP. So what you have to do, so what I want, let's go right below or somewhere where you have your CPP, go minus 3,500. And I don't want to get into that too much, but it's going to be, did I multiply that wrong? Oh, I did, I'm sorry, yes. I was using 15% that they had. What'd you get, 8,800? Thank you. Thank you. So when you're doing CPP, they take, let's say this, in this case, they take the $40,000 and they subtract 3,500 from that. They don't include that in the amount that they calculate, okay? So when we do this, you're actually counting only using 36,500. That's all you actually are doing when you're doing your percentage. So when you are calculating, I think for the most part in the questions I've given you, I'm asking you to take the 3,500 off. I think that's the case. So when you are doing any work with CPP, take 3,500 off, okay? And again, move the decimal over twice. So decimal 0.495 of that amount. And we get $1,806, and that's a 75. Okay, so for the entire year, if the person actually earned gross pay $40,000, they have 3 mandatory things that came off every one of those paychecks, and if we added up all those mandatory things, $8,800 for federal tax came off, roughly $700 came off for EI, and roughly $1,800 came off for CPP. So what we need to do now is figure out how much did they actually have to play with and work with and pay bills and buy stuff and do all that kind of thing. So what you have a couple ways of doing it. You can either add these 3 together and subtract them from 40,000, or you can just go 40,000 minus this, minus this, minus this. So in the end, you know what, I'm going to do that again because I might have used that wrong number again. Subtract 8,800, subtract 692, subtract 1,806, decimal 75 equals $28,701.25 net. That is all the money they ended up getting. Okay, I want you guys to look at what they got to start and what they end up having. Do you see how when you see someone says, I make $40,000 a year, they don't make $40,000 a year? They're not even making $30,000. okay? So having a job that has a lot more money is a really good thing because the amount of stuff that comes off is insane. So the less you make, the less comes off, but it's all kind of proportionate too. So keep that in mind, okay? So that's all you have to do to figure out what your net income is. You take the 3 mandatory things, calculate the percentage coming off of the amount. You can do it per check. A lot of them are, every time you get paid, it's per check. And then you can figure out what your net pay is, okay? So what I'm going to get you guys to do is I'm going to get you to do your own question, and I want you to figure out, and there's going to be mandatory and some voluntary ones in there that I want you guys to do. That's not yeah, exactly. So people do some loophole things that are against the law. So yeah, you don't want to get stuck doing stuff like that. As long as you're following the law and all that kind of stuff, that's totally fine. Okay, so here's the situation. You might want to write this whole thing down. I'll give you guys, I'll give you guys 4 minutes. You guys got calculators. It shouldn't take you too long. So the gross income, so this would be probably a month. They made $6,674 in that month. What is the month net income after the taxes? So we have 22% tax, we have the 1.73 EI, we have 4.95 of the CPP, and they have union dues. So that is a voluntary thing. So that comes off. There's no percentage, it's just a chunk that comes off. And then what I want you to do, once you figure out how much comes off and what their net pay is, what percentage of that whole paycheck was taken off. So if you look back here, okay, so roughly what percentage, how would you guys figure that out? Actually, you tell me. If I have $28,701.25 of $40,000, how do I figure out what percent I did for taxes there? What would I have, what percent came off? How would I figure that out? I just have to use the 2 big numbers, really. I'm just going to type them in. I'm just going to go to this page for a second. So if I go, I'm just going to I'm not putting the exact numbers in. When I do this, I basically got 71.8%. That is how much of my net income, how much my net income is of my wage. So I basically went home with 21.8%. So how much percentage was taxes? How much was, like just roughly, what would I do? How would I figure out? So if 71.8% was how much of my net I went home with, how much came off with taxes? What would I have to do, or what would it be? What would I do? So 71% is what I went home with of my wage. How much came off? Yeah, exactly. So I'd go 100% minus that 71.8%, okay? And that would tell me that it was basically 28.2. So almost 30% of my money was gone, okay? So that is how you figure that out. So with this question here, that's what I want you to do. So once you figure out all the numbers, then I want you to tell me what percent actually got removed from my paycheck, okay? So I'll give you guys 4 minutes to complete that, all right? See you in a sec. Okie dokie. So I sort of started making kind of the formulas out of what you have to do. So you take the 6674, times it by 22, and got that answer. Then when I times it for the EI, I got 115.46. And because we're not, that 3,500 that comes off, that's for the whole year. That's a whole bigger complication thing. So when you're doing monthly, usually just don't worry about that. So with this one, we get 3, that's a 3. 330.36 plus the union dues. So this is all the tally of everything that is at mandatory plus that one voluntary that's coming off of your paycheck. So you guys should have $2,052.25 comes off. So that amount is what is being taken off their paycheck. So think about that. That's $2,000 coming off of a $6,600 paycheck. So what percentage is that? So I'm going to put 2052.25 divided by the 6674. And if we rounded, it's basically 31%. A third of your paycheck is gone in this case. Okay, so that's a lot of money. So, and then the final question is, what is the net? So I'm going to take off the $2,052.25. And when you finally do that, your net pay is, correct me if I'm wrong, $4,621.75. So that is the net amount that you actually get to work with to pay your bill. Still a decent amount, because the person's making this person's making a lot of money in the month, okay? I don't make that much. So they're making a lot of money in this month. They do lose 30%, but they do have a nice chunk of 60% that they get to take home to pay the bills and drive your guys' butts everywhere and get you new clothes because you're growing and all that kind of stuff. But lots of money does come off as well, okay? So the really important thing with this whole lesson, like I'm just going to show you one more thing, but the really big part of this is just really making sure you understand what's happening on your paycheck, because mistakes happen, and sometimes they're big mistakes, and it's happening constantly. I'm not kidding you. I'm dealing with a mistake right now that's been happening for a year now, and we're trying to get everything figured out. But you have to be paying attention and understand what's happening on your paycheck. And it's never a bad idea to ask questions, to look things up and make sure things are being done properly, right? Because not everyone does things properly. Mistakes can happen, and sometimes people do things on purpose too, right? So you always want to make sure that what you deserve, you get, right? Okay, so any questions on the deductions that come off? Anything there? Okay. So the last thing I want to show you is there's something like this called kind of a deduction table. And so for most likely for you guys that are earning less money, just because you're younger and you're not getting a ton of hours, sometimes they use this deduction table. And every level, if you're looking here, these levels signify certain things, and it's not things that I need to know or understand or worry about unless I'm part of it. So if they tell me I'm code number 2, I will definitely go and find out what code number 2 is and make sure that applies to me. So is code number 2 a server? It is, then I'm on the right code. If they have code number 2, I'm a server, and that's supposed to be code number 3, then we have an issue, right? So they use those codes to figure out sort of the taxes that come off. So everything's already kind of predetermined. So for example, this person makes $410 per week. You look at the budget line that has $410 within that range, and then you go to level number 2, code number 2, and it's $22.75 that would come off for the federal tax. So there's also that would happen with that, okay? So I just wanted to show you, because sometimes you're going to come across this table, just especially in your earlier years of your jobs, so that you understand how that works and make sure you are in the right code and they are determining everything properly. So that's all I wanted to say on that one. Okay, so that is it. So don't go, because I have some other things I need to talk to you guys about. But okay, This one is due Wednesday. So it's the one that you started working on. That is due Wednesday. You have to be showing me your work and doing all of that kind of stuff. You don't have to like do that actual multiplication math, but show me you went 10 times 2. You don't have to go carry the 2, you don't have to do that stuff. But and then the other two, so there's this one and this one. Okay, so there are 3 things. One is due on Wednesday. The first one is due on Wednesday. Number 2 and number 3 are due on Friday. So I'm giving you guys a few extra days to do that. I was going to make them all due Wednesday, and I thought, no, we're back from the holidays. I don't want to mark that, and you guys don't need to do that. So, but if you get them all done, hand them all in. Everything's out there for you. There's also, in the previous unit, there is a learning guide that you can do for practice. It is not for homework because you have a test coming up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, okay, on this previous unit we're doing. Not this stuff, not the financial literacy or anything like that, the previous unit where we did elimination and subtracted and substituted and all that kind of stuff. So this learning guide, I'm not marking it. It is there for you to practice as a review because it's probably been a couple weeks since you looked at it. So you're ready for the test Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you have any questions, you are definitely able to shoot me an email. We can plan a Blackboard visit or something like that, or I can just answer it quickly on email if you need to. Good. That's awesome, Katie. So that is there for you to practice so you're ready for the test. These 3 worksheets are for our current unit due Wednesday and 2 are due on Friday. Okay. What I've also included on Moodle is the deduction sheet, and this is sort of showing, I never really talked about the provincial tax, but it works basically the same as the federal tax. And it just has some information. Oh, here's it. It shows the levels. So this is what I was talking about here. So 20, basically 20 and a half for this certain amount, 26. And these are changing constantly, you guys. A new government comes in, the taxes change. They go up, they go down. It's just all dependent on that kind of thing. And sometimes the money changes how much each range is. But this is roughly what I found for 2017. And then it just has a few other pieces of information for you guys there. Okay? So that's on the Moodle site if you need to look at that as well. All right? So that is the homework. Do not leave because I need to talk to some of you guys. So, yeah, so reminders, you guys know about the test stuff, you know, just basically make sure that someone's there to vigilate it, don't have anything open, no cheating, obviously, that kind of stuff. You had to do it from Wednesday to Friday, so you got a 3-day span to do that because we finished the unit before the break. So technically it's been a couple weeks since we've done that, and you guys got this. So I'm putting this up here now, just so you guys know what's going on. So on January 22nd, 23rd, 24th, you guys have an online math final, okay? It is online, you're allowed to use your calculators, and it's going to be on the entire math that we've been doing. I will have 3 different reviews for you that you guys get to work on, and I'll put the answer keys up, but that's coming up. I just want you to keep that in mind. How many questions? That's a good question. How many did I put on there? I can't remember how many I put on there, Dean. It's less than 50. It's more than 20. It's like 30, 35, 40, somewhere around there. Can't remember. I did it a little bit ago, so I did a month ago, so I can't remember. Did I say 40? I don't know. Okay. So anyways, yeah, so just be prepared. There are reviews going to be coming up for this, and I will give you the answer keys, and then obviously I'm always available to help you with that. Yes, it's going to be the multiple choice and not timed. No, yeah, I don't want to do that for you guys. So, okay, so do not leave. Even after I'm done talking here, don't leave because I have to talk to some of you guys. So, study for the test, do this learning guide to get ready for that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then you have 3 worksheets. 1 due is Wednesday, 2 due Friday, and then start prepping for your final, your online final. Yeah, so the only reason we do time, like think about a classroom though, guys. Like if you have a class that's an hour, you have to make sure you're done the test in the hour, but they make sure the test is done within that time too. So, but yeah, that's always how it works. Okay, so that is all except I need to have the following people just stay behind. The rest of you guys can say goodbye to me, and then I'll see you guys on Wednesday. So Emily, Josh, Lindsay, Slade, Hale, oh, you know what? You need to tell me how to say your name because I want to say Haley and I think I'm saying that wrong. Cass H, Kirsten, Sean, Danica, and Alexis. If you can just stay behind for a couple minutes. If I didn't say your name, you guys are welcome to go. Have a good one. Keep working on math all day today, guys. All day. Get it done. Okay, bye, you guys. See you. Thanks, you. Okay. So I will start off with Sean. Sean, you just owe me the probability unit. So you have a plan to get that done, I'm hoping. That's the only thing that you owe me on that. I'm just going through what everyone has here. Hallie. Okay, thank you. Hallie. Is that how you say it, Hallie? Hallie. Okay. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And when I never meet the student and actually get to hear them say their name, it's so, yeah, sorry. Yes, yep, so that's the only thing you owe me. So see you later, Sean. Hallie, you just owe me a couple things from this last unit we did on the systems elimination substitution. You owe me 2 lessons there. And then the probability. So you just owe me those 2 as well. Okay? So you're welcome to go. So if everything's okay with that. Hallie, that's good. Okay. And then Alexis, you owe me the probability and the 3 lessons from the last unit that we did. Okay. So that's what you got for me. Oh, okay, thanks. Thanks, Hallie. I will have to check that because I didn't look yesterday. Yesterday I took the day off of doing any schoolwork. Perfect, thanks. I'll check on that. Good, thanks, Alexis. And Josh, you just owe me probability and the slope intercept. You owe me one of the lessons. I think there was something going on with lesson 5, so just double check that. And the test. So once you fix up lesson 5, I can't remember what the issue was. I have a star next to it. Check that out, do the test, and then you just owe me the probability. Okay, Josh? And he's not even there. Thanks, Josh. And Emily. So Emily, you just owe me the test from relations and functions. You haven't done that yet, my dear. Need you to get that test done. And then you owe me a few things from the slope intercept and the probability. Okay? Oh, did he, Cass? Okay, thank you. Man, he went out fast. Okay, thanks, Em. So you can go. Lindsay, I don't know if you had anything in, but relation functions, you owe me a quiz, the learning guide, and then the test. Slope intercept, you got a few things, and you got me a few things on the linear systems. Okay, so you owe me those things, Linz. So I hope you're okay with that. You understand? Okay. I know she's typing there. Cass H, is she still with us? Yeah, so Cass, you owe me a few things in the slope intercept. So 1 quiz, 2 worksheets, and the test. Most of the unit from the linear, this last one we're doing, and then probability. Okay, so you owe me that as well. Okay, good. So thanks. As long as you're getting this done, because we're almost done this semester, so we need to make sure you guys are getting things going. Okay, and Cass, you are good with that. And Kirsten, good. Okay, that's great, Cass. Thank you. And Kirsten, you owe me the relation functions and the linear systems and probability. So you owe me those 3 units. Okay, so we good there? Kirsten, are you still there? She's not typing. All right, and Slade, you owe me all the units, bud. So we're gonna need you to start getting that caught up because we only have like basically 3 weeks left and we're done. So we'll have to get you to get that all caught up, please. All right, and Kirsten, are you there at all? Kirsten, okay, we're good. Thank you.